Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Licensing Subcommittee this morning. And you are all very welcome. I do apologise. This room tends not to heat up till about Thursday, so it really is a struggle. And can I just say, if you do speak today, you'll notice there are microphones in front of you. You could press the button and use that, both because of the acoustics in this room and because we are being recorded today for the great public, who I'm sure will be very entertained. So we'll start with some quick introductions. I'm David Barker, I'm chairing the subcommittee meeting this morning, and I am flanked by the members of the committee who will introduce themselves.
Councillor Talib Hussain.
Councillor Henry Nottage.
That was worth waiting for. You'll notice a number of other people in the room as well who are here to assist us this morning and work with us. Would you like to introduce yourselves, please?
No. Morning, Samantha, Legal Advisor to the subcommittee.
Shimla Finch, Licensing Service. I'll be presenting a report today.
J. Bell, Democratic Services Officer.
And could I ask you just to confirm your names just for the record, please?
Yeah, it's Monica Shakamuri.
Tim Shield from John Gaunton Partners, peering as agents on this application. Thank you.
Councillor Martin Phipps for City Ward, objecting to the Nalla's convenience store application.
And again, welcome everyone. Your pack will probably be numbered differently to ours, but somewhere in there, probably the last page, will be the procedure to be followed this morning. And you will see that at point 4 of there, it says the solicitor to the committee will outline the procedure. So could I ask Sam to outline the procedure, please?
Thank you, Chair. Have you got a copy of papers, both of you? Yeah, lovely. So I think it says page 41, so hopefully that matches with yours. So I'll just run through it. The licensing officer, who's Shimla this morning, will introduce the report. Any questions concerning the report can be asked by members and the applicant. So if there's anything that needs amending for the record, we can get that sorted then. We've not got any responsible authorities present today. Conditions have been agreed prior to the hearing with South Yorkshire Police. So we'll head straight over to Councillor Phipps to detail the relevant representations and to expand on the representations as in the report. Members may question you on your representations, and with the leave of the chair, the applicant can also ask you questions as well. And we'll then head over to the applicant and Mr. Shield, who will be asked to detail the application, provide clarification on the application and respond to the representations made, both written in the report and orally at the hearing today. Again, members can ask questions of the applicant, and with the leave of the chair, Councillor, you may also be able to ask questions as well. We'll then head over to the applicant to sum up the application. We'll then take the options from the licensing officer as detailed in the report, and we'll head into private session while members take legal advice to consider the application. The decision of the Licensing Subcommittee will be given in accordance with the requirements of the Licensing Act 2003 and regulations made thereunder. At any time during the hearing, members can request legal advice. That can be an open session as we are now, or private session where we'll pause the recording, just ask you guys to pop into the next room, and then we'll invite you back in and feedback what the legal advice was and the outcome of that. And the hearing is public this morning and live webcast. Just to make you aware, and the recording I think is kept for 6 years now, 7 years.
It's archived for 6 years, I believe, but it's available on the website 6 months after.
Thank you. That's everything.
Thank you, Sam. You'll find it is much more straightforward than it sounds. So could we have the report then, please, Shimla?
Thank you, Chair. This report is to consider an application for the grant of a premises licence under the Licensing Act 2003. The application was received on the 29th of November, and a full copy including the proposed plans are attached at Appendix A of the report. The application is for the premises to run as a convenience store to supply alcohol for consumption off the premises 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The application has been referred to the Licensing Subcommittee due to an unresolved representation from the City Ward Councillors. The representation and correspondence from the applicant's agent is attached at Appendix B of the report. The objection details a request for a reduction in alcohol sales to 8 AM to 8 PM daily, and the applicant's agent has made a proposal of reducing the sale of alcohol hours to 8 AM to 4 AM daily, which has been refused by the councillors. During the consultation period, the applicant has agreed conditions with South Yorkshire Police, which are attached at Appendix C. These are around door staff, CCTV systems, cracked radio scheme, Challenge 25 scheme, with a refusals log and staff training that no single alcohol drinks of 6% will be sold. The applicant and interested parties have been invited to attend the hearing. There are no specific financial implications arising from this application. However, additional costs may be incurred should the matter go to appeal. The legal position is detailed in paragraph 6 of the report, and it is recommended that members carefully consider the representations made and take such steps as the subcommittee consider appropriate for the promotion of the licence and objectives. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Shimla. Have members got any questions regarding the report at all? No. Do the applicant have any questions regarding the report? Do the interested parties or the interested party have any questions regarding the report at all? If not, then it's over to you, Martin, to detail your objections this morning.
Thank you, Chair. So while we appreciate the measures taken by Nalla's convenience store in their commitments to training on alcohol sales to help address problem drinking, we're still objecting on the basis of the alcohol sale hours. So in line with other independent stores in the city centre, we would like to request the alcohol sales hours to be restricted to between 8 AM and 11 PM. This would grant sale almost all the day, barring the night and early morning, which are the times we're most concerned about the alcohol sales to vulnerable people fueling antisocial behaviour. Allowing later and earlier opening hours jeopardises the work done by local agencies to mitigate the effects of aggressive and intimidating behaviour by people under the influence of alcohol. Granting the application as is also risks a wider impact by setting a precedent of acceptable times to sell off-licensed alcohol in the city centre. Nalla's convenience store is situated nearby a problem area of antisocial behaviour near the cathedral, and we believe granting the requested opening hours could make this worse, both for visitors, businesses, agencies, and for the increasing amount of people that live nearby, especially with the work around Fargate recently. As highlighted in our objection, City Ward has 83% higher alcohol attributable deaths than Sheffield as a whole, making the management of alcohol sales in City even more important. We ask the committee use conditions to restrict alcohol sales from the premises to 8 AM to 11 PM in line with other independent stores in City and the nearby convenience stores in Tesco Express and Sainsbury's Local. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll open this up to questions now. Talib, have you got any questions at the moment?
Not really, but have you seen that there is a store, I believe, on West Street that got different timing, and have you any thoughts, any research? What's that impact on the alcohol users?
I'm not sure what store in particular you're referring to, Councillor Hussain. It's possible we didn't see that one. It is in a different area, West Street, to the Cathedral. West Street's also a problem area, as we all do know, but there's a slightly different dynamic there to right next to the Cathedral, where there is often a gathering of antisocial behaviour, as well as agencies right next to it, such as the Cathedral Archer project, which makes it a bit more of a volatile situation at times. But no, I can't say I did see that one. Do you know what the opening hours, etc., are for that application?
Well, I believe it's 3 or 4. I'm not 100% sure. The opening hours are till late 3 AM or 4 AM.
I know that, sorry if I'm allowed to come back, Chair. I know that we did look at another application for Glossop Road, which obviously flows into West Street, and that was restricted between 8 AM and 11 PM. And we did comment on that application. It's possible we didn't see the other one, but yeah. So this is consistent with our general approach to these applications.
Thank you.
Henry. Just a couple of things from me. You talk about an agreement with other independent retailers in the area. Is this actually just them deciding to close at that particular time, or is it part of their licensable conditions? And I don't know, Shimla might be able to help you out on that one.
What we're referring to reflects the licensing applications often after we've discussed it with the licensing applicant. It doesn't necessarily reflect a specific policy that you can point to, but it does reflect our general approach to it and the general hours of licensed premises in the area, especially when we've commented on them and raised these issues. Thank you.
And do you think that's making a difference in the area in terms of the sort of things that you're objecting to here and you think that might be encouraged?
I think so, but obviously it's difficult to prove a negative that something's not happening while it's there, or what would be worse if it were not there, because you would need to do it and then see that it is worse to then measure that. But yeah, I definitely, you can see that alcohol and off-licence sales is linked to some of the behaviour, aggressive behaviour that you can see in the city centre at certain times. So definitely that is why we feel is proportionate to ask for these hours in particular, to limit that impact early in the morning and just at night, where I think these people are more vulnerable, people are more likely to have issues with problem drinking, and then more likely to impact visitors, businesses, agencies, and people who live in the city centre. Thank you.
And just finally from me, is there much concern amongst sort of residents in the city centre about these sort of opening hours? Are you picking up concerns from the people you represent on this?
Yeah, definitely. In applications that we see, off-licence applications asking for later hours, we often receive contact from residents. Just that Glossop Road one I mentioned, we definitely receive contact around that. Obviously, not all residents are aware of incoming licences, despite obviously our best attempts. But this is a general theme that we pick up in our casework, that people are concerned around the alcohol sales times of off licences and the impacts of this, the antisocial behaviour we see in the city centre because of problem drinking. Thank you.
Thank you, that's helpful. Sam, do you have any questions for the interested party?
Just to follow up on what you just said then, have residents been in touch specifically about this application?
Not that I'm aware of. It's possible I've missed something, but not that I'm aware of. But as I say, not all residents are aware of every individual licensing application. But this does reflect a general theme of residents' feedback to us as councillors over concern around off-licence hours and linked behaviour. Thank you.
Do the applicants have any questions?
Just a couple, but your legal advisor has covered one of the matters. But can I just clarify, in the representation and what you've said, I didn't hear any criticism of the applicant or the applicant premises specifically. It was really the area you're talking about. Is that fair?
Obviously, we're not specifically criticising the applicant, but we are referring specifically to the hours applied to. So it's not irrelevant to the application, the points we are raising. Obviously, also location does play into an application as well. And the cathedral is a well-known area of antisocial behaviour, which is nearby the applied for premises. Thank you.
So it's the hours for this application within this area rather than anything per se against my client or the applicant company. Fair?
Yeah, that's fair. That it's to do with the hours of the application in the premises and to do with what is being sold.
And then I think you said, you're talking about the city centre and this arrangement, that you then said West Street is different to Charles Street, but they're all in the city centre, aren't they, quite clearly?
Yeah, as I said, the immediate location is slightly different, but I wasn't specifically saying that we wouldn't have put this objection also against West Street. That one might have slipped through our net. But our point still stand. And I also did raise that on Glossop Road, which is nearby West Street, that we did also put in a similar representation, and that was accepted, and alcohol sales were limited to 8 to 11 p.m.
And if I said to you that within a 5-minute walk, including West Street, there were currently 4 other licences that I found on the licensing register for off-licences that authorised 24-hour sales of alcohol, would you agree with that or disagree with that?
It's possible. It's possible. I can't verify really without having it in front of me. Obviously, the immediacy of this premises, in particular to the cathedral, is of particular concern to us. Also, as I raised in the verbal objection just then, the 2 nearest convenience stores that I could see both shut at 11. Obviously, we're not asking for Nalla's convenience store to actually close at 11 p.m. We're just conscious of the sale of off-licences. The sale of alcohol from off-licence times. Thank you.
Just one follow-up question then. So fair to say there are licences that close at 11 or midnight or 24 hours for off-licences in the city centre?
I guess that was more of a statement than a question, but I think I've kind of addressed the immediacy and the nature of the location and its potential impact on nearby businesses, residents, visitors and agencies. Thank you.
Thank you, nothing further.
Right, if there are no further questions, then it's over to you to detail your application.
Thank you, sir. Then what I propose to do, to fully introduce, to my left I have the prospective DPS, Monica, who is also the director of the applicant company. I'll go through the application if and when there are questions I may answer them or my client may answer them. So this is an application, and just to clarify, it stands as a 24-hour request for an application. There were discussions, but those were fruitless, so we're seeking to license 24 hours a day as per the application. In relation to the background, the DPS is experienced and has operated working at off licences outside Sheffield in Stoke-on-Trent for a couple of years prior to the current application. Has an MSc in computer science, I think, and this is a new business, opened relatively recently, but is already operating 24 hours a day within the law and not serving anything, obviously, that requires a licence. The applicant and her 2 cousins are the mainstays of the business, and one of the aspects is to obtain or seek to obtain an alcohol licence. And I hopefully, within the bundle, you have a plan of the premises which was submitted with the application. On my bundle, I think it's page 27. And I just want to refer you to that relatively briefly, but what that shows you is the kind of layout. And there has been some talk about off-licence and the area, and I have mentioned, and I'll come back to the 4 other licences in the area with the 24-hour licence, but you can see from the plan, I hope, and the pictures that have been submitted, that this is a convenience store. Alcohol is an important, or will be an important part of the offer, but it is not a specialist off-licence. It is designed to cater for not only the residents, student residents in the area and other residents in the area, but also during the daytime workers, and there's already an uptake in relation to daytime trade, but this facility does require the licence granting and is requesting the flexibility of the 24 hours. If I can show you to the pictures, I haven't got numberings because I did send them on Friday, but I think if you leaf through those, you'll see from the first 2 in the bundle outside views of the store, which I think it would be fair to say is a welcome addition to the city. And as we all walk around the city in recent years and months, there are a lot of empty shops. And this is certainly going to be a welcome addition, an independent, family-run business. The city is already well served by a number of national chains, all very positive, nothing adverse to say against that, but this is something slightly different to that. And the aim is to cater for the people in the immediate area. One of the important parts of that is the off-licence facility, as I say, and I hope as you see the pictures it shows you that this isn't a shop that is set up or would be set up for totally alcohol sales or anything of that nature, and when you look at the plan it marks on the particular areas, spirits etc. behind the counter, and then a fridge unit proposed which is shown in the pictures and on the plan. So they're just included for those matters. So far as representations or comments are concerned, you do of course have one representation from the City Centre Green Councillors. It is interesting and important to say that this application has been fully and correctly submitted and consulted upon as required, so any suggestion of criticism in that regard about whether residents have or have not seen it, what you can deduce is the one representation from the councillors, which I'm not saying cannot be made, not at all, but does not appear to have been prompted by any adverse comments from residents, and there are certainly no adverse comments from residents via way of representations in the application. In addition to that, the responsible authorities, who you as members will all know, will make representations where they feel there is evidence to support such and it is required, have not made representations. There were discussions with the police which led to the agreement of conditions, and you can see those on page 34 of the bundle, not unfamiliar to you. Issue of door supervisors on a risk assessed basis. This is a busy area. It is a commercial entertainment area, and I say immediately links into West Street. It's not on West Street, but it's just off it, and you have Leopold Square, so it's certainly the entertainment area. My clients are conscious of that, and of course agreed the condition about risk assessing door supervisors, and would be aware of that later in the evening and early into the earlier hours if required, and that condition covers that. You have the usual condition about CCTV, and again, if you look at the pictures, CCTV is already in, and you can see some of the monitor and cameras, but the fully comprehensive CCTV system in there. The usual about city centre radios, happy to comply with that to link up with other premises, and Challenge 25, and in addition my clients will operate Challenge 25, and I have with me, but I haven't disclosed, incident register, refusals register, Challenge 25 training, because the training would come from within the family, if I can put it like that, because they may look to have additional staff, so there would be training as you would expect from a responsible operator. And then the last condition about no singular alcoholic drink 6% or above, obviously that is aimed at concerns about potential for street drinkers and the area. Clients are aware of the area. Obviously they can't impact upon it in the sense of who is there, but they can deal with and act responsibly within the premises and be aware of the laws and requirements they have in upholding the licensing objectives. So that goes through where the police are at and the conditions agreed with them. So far as other premises are concerned, I did go on your licensing register, and just for the record I will read out the ones I found are all on West Street and are 24-hour off licenses: 100 West Street, 111 West Street, 147 West Street, 185 West Street. So they're within 5 minutes walk. As I came this morning here, I parked on the corner of Devonshire Green and walked down West Street, and within less than 5 minutes I was from one end to the other in Charles Street. So it would be unfair to say it isn't the same area. I'm not saying there aren't other premises that close at 11 o'clock. There are ones that close at 11, midnight and 24 hours, and probably somewhere in between. In addition, of course, again, going back to the area, it's an entertainment area where you would not be expecting it to be quiet in the later evening, early hours of the morning, because it is part of the nighttime economy for on-licensed premises and off-licensed premises. So it would be unfair to say this is pushing the boundaries in an area which doesn't have other outlets in a similar format to being proposed hours-wise. So far as the law is concerned, I'll put this in now, which I suspect will shorten any summing up I may have. Of course, the concern about a conglomeration, if I can put it like that, of later licences or restricting hours in the nighttime economy is specifically referred to in licensing legislation, and you do not have a cumulative impact policy. and I'm not aware there's any intention to include one, which this representation seems to be suggesting is a way to do that. And there isn't an early morning restriction order, an MRO, both in relation to hours in the later evening. So any suggestion that this is going to overflow an area or cause a problem is incorrect in law. But really, I want to conclude by saying this is a good proposal for a good set of premises that will add to the area, providing some limited numbers of employment for a facility which we hope will be very successful. And again, I draw you back to the pictures of what's being proposed. It was an empty shop for a significant period of time, which has been brought back to life. But it does need support within the town centre of the off-licence facility, and that's the request. I'll pause there. I do have a couple of other legal points in relation to the guidance, etc., which I'm sure you'd expect of me, but I'll pause there for any questions. Thank you.
I will open that up to questions. Henry, is there anything that you would like to ask the applicants at this stage?
Thank you for your representation. It says in one of the emails that you sent in relation to the application that the shop's mainly focused towards grocery and household products, and the sale of alcohol is merely ancillary to the business. How ancillary to the business would you see the sale of alcohol should the licence be granted? You know, what is there an expected proportion of income that you're hoping to derive from the sale of alcohol?
I'll ask my client to perhaps add into that. I don't know about percentages wise, obviously I wouldn't expect, but you can see from the layout the kind of offer. I think in that what we're saying, and no criticism of any specialist off licences which you see in the city centre and look are entirely given over to alcohol, that's not what this is, and that was the intention in showing the pictures and the proposal. You can see in the pictures such things as washing up powder, dustpans and brushes, tobacco, soft drinks, sweets, crisps, all important aspects. And I think I didn't write that email, but my submission would be it's one part, it's not a specialist. I don't know about percentages and whether my client has in mind, but I can ask the question. I don't think they have a specific percentage in mind, but as with most convenience stores, and perhaps aging myself 30 years ago when convenience stores were a new thing, alcohol is an important part of a convenience store offer. I think that's what we would say. But really the intention is to show it's not a specialist shop given over entirely to alcohol.
And with the current level of trade between the hours of 11 p.m. and 8 p.m. on grocery sales, is the business viable during those hours?
I think I sort of repeating myself, it is an important part, and everything that feeds into a store like that needs to have that supporting it to be viable. It is viable at the present time because they've opened, but as with anything, you need as much as you can particularly in these difficult times for a business and a new business to survive, I think I would say, but it is an important part.
One last question. You mentioned 4 premises on West Street that have a 24-hour licence. Do you know if those premises operate throughout their 24-hour licence?
It's a little while since I've been down West Street at 4 or 5 in the morning, but I do. I would say, from having been past recently, I think some of them do. I would say at least 2, but I wouldn't rule out the other 4, I have to say. It is a little while. If I go back a few years, they definitely were operating, and I don't see there'd be any reason why they wouldn't be now.
My understanding from a previous case we've looked at is that the Tesco, although they have a 24-hour licence, voluntarily restricted their own alcohol sales because of problems they were having for staff. If Tesco's are experiencing problems at that level, what makes you confident that your DPS will be able to succeed where they haven't in terms of managing those problems?
I can't speak for Tesco, and I wasn't referring to Tesco as one of the 24-hour licences. I wasn't aware they had a 24-hour licence. The ones I was referring to were independent off licences. For ourselves, we're operating at the moment for 24 hours, and we feel we'll be able to do so successfully and without causing incident or issue going forward.
Thank you, Chair. Well, my question is what the current hours of operating the shop are?
24 hours a day at the minute.
Right. Can you tell me any incident recent months here in that shop, antisocial behavior, any theft, any report to police?
Sorry, we don't have any issues because we are running from past 3 months. This is the third month we are running. If we finish this January, it's the third month. And we are selling the tobacco and the vapes. We didn't face any issue till now. We didn't call any police or we don't have any theft issues or anything.
And I think the only thing I would add to that is, of course, if the police felt there were issues or incidents at the site during the application process, or they would have made a representation and an objection, which they obviously haven't done.
Have you had any research at the 2 or 3 stores which are open, not even 24 hours, up to 3 or 4? It's only one which is open at 3 or 4. What was the competition in a way? You are going to sell the cheap alcohol, expensive. How are you going to make viable your business, different to other stores?
Well, I think for myself, having looked at the pictures and compared them with other off licences that are 24 hours, they are a different offer. They have a greater facility, and it is one aspect of the proposal, along with the sweets, soft drinks, tobaccos, which during the day has one purpose, and then as the night goes on, perhaps a different clientele, students. So it is different. As I walk up and down, I went up and down the street. There's, I think, one of the store that calls itself convenience store that's an independent. You do then have Tesco's on either end, but this is something slightly different, and hopefully when you look at the pictures you will see the offer that there is for this proposal.
Thank you.
Not very much left for me to ask, I don't think. I just wonder, Councillor Phillips has outlined some of the particular challenges of this area and difficulties. Why have you picked this area? What's the attraction of opening here as opposed to maybe a quiet life somewhere out of the city centre?
All I'll say on that, I think my clients clearly have a desire to be in business, and they've looked at this as an opportunity. And actually, again, for myself this morning, walking up and down West Street to re-familiarise myself, the most recent, there isn't a convenience store that looks like that with that kind of stock. There are Tesco's, and what they offer something slightly different. So I think they see a gap in the market and clearly want to do that rather than going out into the suburbs, if I can put it like that, or the surrounding areas. Is that fair?
Yeah, and just finally from me, obviously, given the location and the opening hours, there are potential for sort of groups of people who quite probably in drink, not particularly cooperative or particularly nice at that time. How would you deal with that sort of situation? Say that a group of young men came out of the pub and wanted to go in and buy alcohol and other things and were causing problems. How would that be dealt with?
I think that is certainly something that can occur, as with the nature of the area it is. We have someone who is a personal licence holder. The 3 members of the family, if I can put it like this, Monica and her 2 cousins, all have experience from working in licensed premises, off licences, more particularly in Stoke-on-Trent than in Sheffield, but they've been open for 3 months, so they'll have a good feel for the idea. And as with the condition agreed with the police, there is their risk-assessed door supervisors, and that would be something they would be looking at if it was necessary. I wouldn't want to say it was specifically conditioned, because I don't think that's appropriate, but that is part of what that condition is, and staffing levels. and perhaps having two people on at peak periods, later in the night or earlier in the morning. So those are all things that I've discussed, and I'm sure they've had discussions, and I've asked them about that. So staffing levels and that kind of thing, although I wouldn't want you to condition that, as I don't think that's necessary or appropriate, but hopefully that gives some comfort.
Sorry, I said finally, but this one is finally. Obviously, if you're applying for a 24-hour licence, if operating between certain hours was causing difficulties, do you think you may choose not to operate the licence between those hours? Would that be a possibility if it was causing issues?
Yes, I think if you saw my client nodding, I think that's something they would look at. Hopefully that won't happen. And there are a number of different steps to that, not least door supervisor staffing levels, security arrangements, CCTV, and of course, the responsible authorities, and particularly the police, would undoubtedly be keeping an eye and looking at the premises as they do with all those premises and all premises licensed, so that if there were issues, they could seek to take action. That we hope won't be necessary, but certainly there's different levels of scales, but we would look at it if it became a problem for us.
Thank you. Sam, have you got any questions for the applicant? Martin, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Not in particular. I think I've kind of made the points that I'd like to put across. I guess just one observation that, again, with the West Street off licences, and it'd probably be quite a quick 5-minute walk to get there, but maybe a fit with me. Because I think they are actually pretty much down the other end of West Street, kind of towards that Devonshire Green, Fitzwilliam Street end, so that there is a bit of a locational difference there from being an area which already has ASP issues to nearly being able to see a premises that would have off-licence sales. Sorry if I'm not using the right terminology. I don't mean to imply your premises is entirely an off-licence. Just that it is applying for those sales. So I think there is a bit of a location difference there as well that I just wanted to comment on rather than just leave. Thank you.
Thanks. So it's back to you to sum up your application.
Thank you. A quick walker from one end of West Street to the other, but just for your records, the 4 premises I gave you were running down in numbers, so I think the highest number was at the far end of West Street, if I can put it like that, but they are in between the 2 or 3 others. But that's not the major part of the application. The major part of the application is this is a good applicant with a good application that seeks flexibility, and I'm not going to repeat everything I've just said. I will finish with two bits of law in a case, as you would expect me to. 9.12 of the guidance, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, does say that your main source for matters of concern in relation to the licensing objectives are the responsible authorities. And I know from many applications submitted to yourselves, and you will know that where there is evidence, the responsible authorities will make a representation. And what they've done here is we have the consultation with the police, which agreed conditions to address potential concerns around antisocial behaviour, around crime and disorder, and those have been agreed, and so the police and the other responsible authorities are happy. That is important. And then I will just mention paragraph 10.15, the guidance, which of course, paraphrasing, says where there is an application for an off licence in a shop, it is expected and usual that the hours the shop opens are granted for the off licence licensable activity. And here we have a shop that is, if I say it like this, but it's money where its mouth is, opened 24 hours a day without the licence and without issue. So I would conditions or hours, particularly where the responsible authorities have not made representations, and that is on point and on case here. So I'll pause there. I will finish by saying this is going to be a positive addition All I say about the law is important, but we come before you with a proposal to licence an existing shopping facility which looks good and is a family business, and a lot of hours have already been put in preparing and opening and reinvigorating a site which had been empty for some time in the town centre. Thank you.
Thank you. Could we have the options then, please, Shimla?
Thank you. The options open to the committee are 1, to grant the premises licence in the terms requested, 2, to grant the premises licence with conditions, and 3, to reject the whole or part of the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Could I now ask people to leave the room while we take legal advice and come to a decision? And as soon as we've made that decision, we'll invite you back in and tell you what that is. And hopefully you'll find somewhere warmer to sit while we're deliberating. For your time and your representations this morning. The decision of the licensing committee is to grant the licence as applied for, and that's in accordance with the legislation, and that there isn't any hard evidence on which to do anything differently. However, licences are not forever. If the operation of this licence does cause any issues at all, then it can be brought back to this committee immediately, where we will have evidence and can take a different decision. The hope is that it will be run, you'll have a successful business that doesn't have any negative impact in the area that's an asset. But if that's not the case, then the committee has powers to impose a number of conditions or revoke the licence. So if there are issues, do come back. What I would suggest and encourage is that you continue to talk to each other, and that you continue to engage with the other groups that operate in the city centre, so that we have, you know, coordinated things there, that we're sharing information, and that matters can be resolved without coming here. But if it needs to come back here, you know, if they start selling alcohol and have problems tonight, you can come back tomorrow and request that the licence is reviewed. So that's the decision of the committee. I believe it's appealable.
It is, yes. You have the right of appeal against the decision. It seems a lot louder, sorry. Which is within 21 days to the magistrates' court. So following the hearing, you'll receive a notice that licensing will send out, sort of considering the evidence before members and how they came to that decision, and just outlining that final decision. Well, thank you very much for your time today, everybody. It's much appreciated.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You can all go get warm now while we're sitting here for a bit longer. First of all, apologise for the temperature in this room. It's, we've been here an hour now and we're just about a breaking point. Well, apart from Henry, who seems to cope better than the rest of us. They turned the heating off over the weekend and it takes a long time to reheat, unfortunately. But you're very welcome, and we'll just start with some quick introductions. I'm David Barker, I'm chairing the subcommittee this morning, and I'm flanked by the members of the committee. Would you like to introduce yourselves, please?
Councillor Talib, Hussain.
Councillor Henry Nottage.
And you'll see a number of other people in the room who are council officers who are working with us and supporting us today. Would you like to introduce yourselves, please?
Morning, Samantha Bond, legal advisor to the subcommittee.
Morning, Shimla Finch from the Licensing Service.
AJ Bell, Democratic Services Officer.
And could I ask you to just confirm your names for the record as well? And just to say, because we're being webcast and because of the acoustics, if you can just press the button on the microphone in front of you when you speak.
I'm Dave Musgrove, one of the owners of Porta Pizza.
Well, welcome, Dave and Viv. You'll have had the papers for this meeting, and you will see that at the back of those papers is the procedure that we follow for such hearings. And I'm sure you'll recall well that at point 4 of that procedure, it says that the solicitor, if I could speak, we'd get through this meeting a lot more quickly. The solicitor to the committee will outline the procedure to be followed. So, Sam, could you outline the procedure, please?
Thank you, Chair. Have you got a copy of the papers? Yeah, lovely. So, as Chair said, it's just right at the back. It looks a lot worse than it is, so I'll try and rattle through it relatively quickly. So Shimla, the licensing officer, this morning will introduce the report. If there are any questions concerning the report, we'll get those cleared up then. So if there's anything missing or inaccurate, I think Councillor Nottage has pointed to an error in one of the times. I think on Saturday you've gone for 9 until 10 p.m. Instead of 12, so he spotted that this morning, so we'll get that amended for you. No responsible authorities involved in the application, and the only interested party, one resident who did advise that he wouldn't be attending prior to the hearing, so we'll proceed as we are with everybody that's here now. So what we'll do, we'll just head over to you to outline your application, just to detail it, provide any clarification on the points mentioned, and respond to the representations made by the resident in the report. Members will probably have some questions, and basically that's as straightforward as it is. You'll get the chance to sum up the application. We'll take the options from Shimla as detailed in the report, and members will then go into private session to take legal advice, and we'll invite you back in after that to give you the decision. It shouldn't take too long. The decision of the licensing committee will be given in accordance with the requirements of the Licensing Act 2003 and regulations made thereunder. At any time during the hearing this morning, members can request legal advice, so we can either do that in open session as we are now, or private, where we just pop you back in that room for a second, and then we'll report back what the advice was when you come back in. And as the chair said, the hearing is in public this morning, so it's being live webcast, and that webcast does remain on the website for some time and is archived for around 6 years. I think that's everything. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Sam. So could we have the report then, please, Shimla?
Thank you, Chair. This report is to consider an application for the grant of a premises licence made under the Licensing Act. The application was received on the 27th of November, and a full copy, including the proposed plans and accompanying documents, are attached to Appendix A. The applicant currently has a premises licence at 410 Sharrow Road and are now moving to a larger unit at 394 to 396 Sharrow Road to continue to run as a pizza restaurant and takeaway that sell alcohol. The application has been referred to the licensing subcommittee due to an unresolved representation from a local resident concerning noise issues. A copy of the representation is attached to Appendix B. During the consultation period, the applicant has agreed 3 conditions with South Yorkshire Police, which are listed at Appendix C. Conditions relate to drinks not being removed off the premises in open containers, notices to be displayed at exits requesting customers to leave the premises and area quietly, a Challenge 25 scheme to be in place, including refusal logs and staff training records. The applicant and the local resident have been invited to attend the hearing. The local resident has confirmed that they will not be attending today's hearing. There are no specific financial implications arising from this application. However, additional costs may be incurred should the matter go to appeal. The legal position is detailed in paragraph 6 of the report, and it is recommended that members carefully consider the representations made and take such steps as the subcommittee consider appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. Thank you.
Thank you, Shimla. Have members got any questions regarding the report at all?
Other than the correction on the hours on the application, no.
Do you have any questions regarding the report at all?
No.
Then it's over to you to detail your application, and in particular in outlining the application, if you could address any of the concerns that have been expressed by the resident.
Okay. So we are a family-run pizza business that we feel is very much rooted in the community. Our children live and go to school in the area, and we very much want to be invested in and a part of that local community, so we don't see ourselves as sort of owners who stay away from the business and just use it to make money. We feel like we've run the business responsibly for the last 8 years, and the last sort of 2.5 years we've had the alcohol licence in our current premises, and we feel like we're very responsible users of that licence. We made the decision when we opened the business a long time ago to close at 9 o'clock weekdays, or to have last orders at 9 o'clock on weekdays and 9:30 on Fridays and Saturdays, and that was particularly because we didn't want to be serving an after the pub crowd. We didn't want any sort of drunkenness in our premises. We want to serve people who want to eat and enjoy their pizzas. The alcohol licence premises licence that we applied for and we currently have was just to enhance that experience. And the experience we've had over the last 2.5 years is that typically customers, many of our customers drink tap water. Quite a few, we've probably got about a 50-50 soft drinks to alcoholic drinks ratio in terms of our sales. And those who do drink alcohol, it's really a glass of wine or one bottle of beer with their pizza. Obviously, some people will have a second, but drunkenness or rowdiness is not an issue that we've had to face at all in our place currently. I can probably think of like one or two occasions where people have been in the restaurant appearing to be a bit drunk, and actually they've been takeaway customers, and we wouldn't have served them alcohol, nor did they ask for alcohol. So it's just not an issue that we've faced. Obviously, I completely respect residents' concerns about noise, and that alcohol may be a factor in generating more noise. And I'd like, it's a shame they're not here and we couldn't sort of listen to those concerns in more detail, but I do feel that having the premises licence does not increase the noise of Porter Pizza. The only sort of noise pollution that I think we are aware of is emptying glass into the glass bin at the end of a shift. And we're more than happy to say we'll keep a glass bin inside the premises and we'll just empty it in the morning, and that's, more than happy to do that. But in terms of residents, customers making noise, I don't think it's a problem that we're creating. I'm just going a bit more about, I said about, and I don't know if this is directly related to the question, but I say it as to evidence the fact that we're genuine about wanting to be a positive part of our community. We do support lots of local initiatives. We've supported the primary school with their green wall. We've supported Bingham Park skate parks. We support the Sharrow street trees financially. We're currently supporting an initiative to get young people into performing music called slam bars. I don't know if any of you have heard of that, but we're supporting them. We're also in conversation with the Sharrow Food Hub about forming a partnership with them of support. So, we're very genuinely committed to being a positive part of the community. I know one of the licensing objectives is about protection of young people, but we want to be sort of net positive rather than just not negative. So we have the students from Hunters Bar Junior School who've come into the business to learn about local businesses, and they learn about what we do as a pizza business, and they get a slice of pizza. And we're very, very sort of positive about initiatives like that. So we certainly don't want to be a negative impact.
Thank you. Are you happy for me to open this up to questions then now?
Yes, of course.
Talib, is there anything you'd like to ask at this stage?
Well, have you had any incident recorded when you had to call police in past 2 years when you had a license?
No. Actually, the only times I think we've called the police is when we've been broken into, but we haven't been broken into in the last 3 years. I don't think that since we've had the licence. So, no.
No further question.
Henry, is there anything you'd like to ask?
No, I think the applicant's already addressed anything I would have had.
Just from me, I'm just thinking, so you're moving into a larger premises. How far away is that from your existing premise?
It's just 6 doors down the road, so about 50 metres, something like that, yeah.
So shouldn't cause any noticeable difference in, you're not moving to a little quiet location somewhere.
I mean, in actual fact, we feel like in terms of impacts on the residents on the street, it's going to be a positive move overall for 2 reasons. One reason, the premises we're moving into doesn't have a chimney, and we're going to be moving to an electric pizza oven. So we're currently burning wood. So obviously there's particulate pollution issues around burning of wood. So we'll be moving away from that and moving to an electric oven. The other issue is cars, people coming to collect takeaways. I can see how that creates extra traffic, but part of the incentive for us in moving to this new premises is that we can become more of a restaurant and reduce the amount of takeaway, which should reduce the amount of traffic that we're creating from the business as well. So, I'm hopeful that it's going to be having a benefit in those respects.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions. Sam, is there anything you would like to ask? In that case, oh, sorry. You now have the opportunity to sum up, if you wish to sum up.
Yeah, really just to say again, our full intention is to be a positive part of our local neighbourhood and community. We style ourselves as a neighbourhood pizzeria. That's really, really important to us. That's what we're all about. And, you know, certainly, if any resident came to us in the future saying they had concerns about anything, we'd listen very carefully and do our best to mitigate any problems that they raised.
Thank you. I'll try again. So now can we have the options, please, Shimla?
Thank you. The options open to the committee are 1, to grant the premises licence in the terms requested, 2, to grant the premises licence with conditions, and 3, to reject the whole or part of the application. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm afraid I now have to ask you to leave the room with the licensing officer while we take legal advice and come to a decision. If you want to leave anything in here, you're welcome, because we'll invite, as soon as we've made the decision, we'll invite you back and tell you what it is. Thank you for your time and your representations this morning. The decision of the licensing committee is to grant as applied for, and we wish you all the best and hope you continue to be a successful, thriving local business. I believe the interested party does have the right of appeal, which I think because we're being webcast, we might just need to detail.
Yeah, just for the sake of the public, and if the interested party is watching, they do have the right to appeal the decision. So that's within 21 days to the Magistrates' Court. So following this hearing, you and they will receive a notice from the licensing service, basically just confirming the decision and how members reach that decision. So should anybody wish to, but really appreciate you coming down today. Thank you for your time, and as the chair said, best of luck with everything.
Thanks very much to everybody for their time. Thank you. Thank you.